Today, we're going to tackle a question that's becoming more and more critical. In a world where everything costs more and new risks are popping up everywhere, what is an injury claim actually worth in 2026? Let's dive in. So let's get right to the heart of it with this question. Why would the very same injury from just a couple of years ago be worth so much less than if it happened right now? It's a really good question, and the answer? Well, it affects just about everyone. It really comes down to this perfect storm of different factors all hitting at once. We've got medical bills going through the roof, climate change creating brand new dangers at work, a tough economy pushing more drivers to drop their insurance, and, on top of all that, a much better understanding of those long-term, slow-burn injuries. Let's break each of these down. Okay, first up, let's talk about the money. The economy in 2026 is having a huge direct impact on what a claim is worth, and it really starts with two big things: runaway inflation and a really scary rise in uninsured drivers. This chart, wow, it tells a heck of a story. Let's take a real-life example of a woman in Montgomery who got rear-ended. The insurance company's first offer was $35,000. But, and this is the key part, once her lawyers factored in today's inflated costs for medical care plus what she'd need in the future, the final settlement was nearly $98,000. That's almost triple. And believe me, this isn't a one-off thing. This is the new reality. So you're probably wondering, why such a massive jump? Well, the numbers don't lie. Medical bills alone have shot up 18% in just a few years. That's because everything costs more, from hospital staff to the parts needed to fix your car. And here's something people forget. Lost wages are worth more now too, precisely because your paycheck just doesn't go as far. The bottom line is the amount of money it takes to make things right has gone way, way up. I love this quote because it makes it so clear. Think about it like this. When gas prices shoot up overnight, you suddenly need more money just to fill up your tank, right? It's the exact same idea for a settlement. The old value from a few years ago just doesn't cover today's costs. You have to be compensated based on today's prices, not yesterday. And this economic pressure, it's not just about inflation. It's creating another really dangerous trend. Hit-and-run crashes are up by a staggering 18% in the South. And you want to know why? It's because insurance premiums are so high that more and more people are just driving without it. So when they get in a wreck, they panic and they run. This is such a great way to think about it. The hit-and-run itself, it feels like getting robbed. You can't stop that from happening. But what you can do is get your money back. And how do you do that? Through your own insurance policy. That's exactly what uninsured motorist coverage is for. It's your safety net for when the other driver just disappears. All right, let's shift gears and talk about the workplace. It's actually becoming a lot more dangerous, but in ways we might not expect. We're seeing a huge spike in claims from two major things: new risks tied to our changing climate and these tricky slow burn injuries. So a slow burn injury isn't like a sudden accident. It's something that builds up over months or even years, just like you see on this timeline. Imagine a factory worker in Block C who's doing the same motion over and over. It starts as a little discomfort, then it turns into pain that won't go away, then numbness. And by the time a doctor gives an official diagnosis like carpal tunnel, years could have passed. The real challenge is proving that the job, and not something else, is what caused it. This analogy is just spot on. Thinking of it like a slow leak in a pipe is perfect. If you ignore that little drip, 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 you eventually come home to a flooded house. It's the same thing with these injuries. Reporting it the moment you feel something is wrong is absolutely crucial. It creates a paper trail and lets you hold the company accountable before the damage gets way worse. Now let's talk about a risk that's becoming a bigger deal every single summer: the heat. We're living in what some people are calling the heat dome era. And that means workers are dealing with some truly extreme temperatures. 105 degrees, that's not just uncomfortable, it's downright dangerous. In one real case, that was the exact temperature when a worker started feeling dizzy and sick, the first signs of serious heat illness. And that leads to the most important question of all: who's responsible? OSHA, the Workplace Safety Agency, is very clear on this. Employers have a legal duty to protect their workers from heat. So you have to ask these simple questions. Did they provide enough water? Did they make sure people took rest breaks? Was there shade available? If the answer to any of those is no, then that's not just an accident. It's a failure to follow basic safety rules. Now we need to talk about some of the most difficult and heartbreaking cases: medical malpractice. This is about what happens when the very systems we trust to take care of us fail, and when a mistake that could have been prevented ends in tragedy. In these absolutely devastating cases, we're seeing a really important trend. Juries are starting to hand down what the legal world calls nuclear verdicts. We're talking settlements of $10 million or more. And these massive awards, they're not just about the money. They are a loud and clear message from the public that preventable medical errors are not acceptable, and they can actually change hospital policies all across the country. This quote just captures the pain so perfectly. First, there's the unimaginable grief of losing someone you love. But then, families often get hit with a second blow. The hospital or the system denies any responsibility, saying it was just unavoidable. The fight for justice becomes a fight just to have the truth heard. And for these families, I can't stress this enough. Time is absolutely critical. A legal clock starts ticking right away. As you can see here for Alabama, there's a very strict 2-year window from the date of death to file a lawsuit. Now, there are a few rare exceptions, but you cannot afford to wait. Acting within these deadlines is non-negotiable if you want any chance at justice. Okay, so we've looked at car wrecks, injuries at work, and even medical malpractice. They all seem so different, right? But what's the common thread? It turns out there's a clear process, a playbook that you should follow in every single one of these situations. So let's walk through that universal 4-step guide right now. This right here is your most important takeaway. Number 1, report it and get it on record. That means calling 911 or telling your boss and make sure it's in writing. 2, document absolutely everything. Take pictures, get witness info, write down your own notes, and keep every single medical record. 3, you need medical proof. A doctor has to officially connect the incident to your injury. And 4, act before it's too late. You have to know your state's deadlines and move before they run out. This playbook works for everything. And really, this brings us right back to where we started, to the basic idea of fairness. It's so simple. If you got hurt and it wasn't your fault, you shouldn't be the one who gets shortchanged. Just because the cost of everything has gone up, it's just not right. So, we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. In a world with all these new and rising risks, from a shaky economy to a changing climate, is it possible that the most valuable insurance you can have isn't a policy you buy from a company, but simply knowing what your rights are and knowing how to stand up for them?